coast to coast,
coast to shore,
shore to shore,
shore to shore.
It's a Lakey
Unleashed, unleashed.
We talk truth,
Information,
infotainment.
infotainment.
He says what
You've been thinking,
but you've been scared to say. We love to listen.
we love to listen, Jimmy, yeah.
We do.
We love to listen to Jimmy.
Tell it.
Tell it,
Tell it.
coast to coast,
Yeah.
coast to shore.
It's Lakey Unleashed and
Lakey unleashed and unfiltered.
Faith.
Faith meets fire,
Turn it up.
a little higher.
The Jimmy Lakey.
Daily show is on now.
Lakey Unleashed.
Daily unleashed, daily show on.
Preacher. You ready for it?
Yeah,
You ready for faith?
yeah.
You ready for fire? You ready for politics with some Holy Ghost power?
Faith meets fire.
Ooh.
Faith meets fire.
From your kitchen table to that big old 18-wheeler.
Big old 18-wheeler.
From the city to the country, Jimmy Lake is speaking what you feeling.
Lakey unleashed.
Say it.
Lakey unleashed.
Don't touch that dial. Don't you go nowhere. Be a Lakey on these. Daily show, Jimmy Lakey is on right now. 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 Right
All right, here I am, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you here on the program.
Music right now.
Lakey, here on the program, Lakey Unleashed, Streamcast, podcast, broadcast. We got them all right. Ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to be here, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. I am the aforementioned Jimmy Lakey behind this microphone. Evidently, it is the way the good Lord intended it to be on the day that he has made. The 20th day of March, year of our Lord, 2026. It's a Friday. Everybody celebrate accordingly. Friday, we finally made it to Friday. Got a lot of great guests on the program. Andy Ross is going to be here. Dr. Gilda Carl is going to be here. And, of course, our friend Sherry Cree is going to be here. Not all in that order, but you get the idea. Great guest on the program. And then we'll send you off into the weekend and to have a great weekend. And then we'll come back here Monday morning, good Lord willing. How's everybody doing? Delilah's good. She came into the Lakey Entertainment Towers, made her way up to the House of Lakey Studio #1, and she seemed rather perky and happy. I guess she made some good money dancing your side last night. I don't know. Anyway, Delilah's in good mood. Even the hipster youth, Aiden, one of the hipster youth that work at the Lakey Entertainment Towers, he looks like he trimmed up that homeless beard. It looks it looks better than it used to. So anyway, glad to have you. Where are you listening at? Everybody paying attention from all around America? Anybody out in Ohio this morning? If you're in Ohio, I've got an Ohio-based story. If you're in Nashville, where I used to call it the music business, Nash Vegas, I got a Nashville story for you. Jim just said good morning from Fort Collins. Roger says from the behind enemy lines in the Colorado high country. There's Arkansas, River Valley, Arkansas checking in. Wherever it is that you are blessed to hear this program, you're welcome. And I'm glad I could do it for you. I really am. Really. Green River, Utah. Hello out there. Highway living, out driving the big rig, I guess. And there, first day of spring. Everybody ready to springtime? I'm 90 degrees close this weekend in Colorado, and I'm worried that we're gonna need a fire prevention help here in the great state of Colorado. So anyway, I'm enjoying it, though. I'm not going to complain. Let's do some news. What do you say? Some of the headlines we're going to go through. We won't do the deep dive now. We'll do the deep dive later, but let me give you some headlines. One of the things, and this is not necessarily a top headline like Iran war and those types of things. This is just a story that jumped off the pages, and I put it at the top of my show prep notes that I made because I wanted to talk about this. 5 years ago or so, we were under the confines of idiots. Idiots were running the country as far as Dr. Fauci. Remember the little effer? You got to be careful on the algorithms to say Fauci because they'll shut you down. Got locked out of my Twitter account back in the day. because I was critical of the little Fauci, and so I came up with a code name, and I called him the little effer, and I never got banned again after they unbanned me. Dr. Scarf, that crazy woman, I called her Dr. Scarf, Dr. Burks, I had to call her that to get past the censors. Well, we were back in COVID craziness about 5 years ago and 6 years ago, and it was nonsense. It was stupid. It was dumb. And a lot of the things that you were told, as a matter of fact, most of the things we were told during the COVID craziness turned out to be false and untrue. And we were told, social distancing and wear a mask, and your kids suffered academically like my son did. A lot of kids suffered in their mental health. It was a bad time in America, and I think it will be remembered as the dumb ages in American history. You've had the dark ages, you've had the years of enlightenment. That will be the years of dumb ages, and unfortunately, we've moved on and pretend none of it happened. And you've got people that are politicians and or were in government service then or serving then. Now they're running for office, and it's almost like they don't want to talk about the COVID anymore. For instance, I'll use an example right here in the great state of Colorado. One of the most idiotic governors when it came to the rule and the reign of the tyranny of the COVID was our own Governor Jared Polis. Came up with such stupid rules that other states had as well. Stupid rules that basically would say you can go to a restaurant and wear your mask, and when you walk to your table, put your mask on, wear your mask, but whenever you sit down at the table, take your mask off. Or some states were having things that you put the mask on in between every bite. It's just stupid stuff that people actually participated in. Not that all of us thought it was smart, but some of us, we just wanted to get out and about and be able to breathe fresh air again. We had a governor here in the state of Colorado, not sure what your experience was, that actually could be a different day, is the stupidest things you remember from that COVID era, because I want us to never, ever forget it. I want Jared Polis forever to have his legacy framed as the governor of Colorado as being a jackass and a jackwagon both wrapped up into one when it came to his COVID false tyranny and his practicing of fake medicine. Jared Polis actually sometime early in the week, midweek, would announce that the restaurants will close at 10 o'clock tonight. They'll close at 9 o'clock. He just set an arbitrary time. And there's no science behind that. That's just stupidity. And Jared Polis is a fool, and he proved his foolishness when he ran the tyranny of the state during the COVID. And back in the algorithm days when you get shut down for talking negative about the COVID, I had to call it the booger cootie virus. You got it on your finger like a booger and shook it off like a cootie. Made that up one day. I don't know, but it worked. It got past all the censors. Laura Carno's chatting in there on the Facebook feed, and she says, don't forget, Jared Polis also said we were selfish bastards. That's what Jared Polis called the people of Colorado who would not listen to his rule and his tyranny. So I think all of these people should be held accountable, and I refuse to let sleeping dogs lie. I refuse to say, oh, nothing ever happened. There's nothing to see here. No, these people destroyed lives. They destroyed fortunes. They destroyed people. They destroyed a lot of things, and they should always be held accountable. Every election that Polis or any other governor or person across America wants to do, their legacy should be framed for their stupidity and their tyranny during that time. All that is set up to bring you a story. There was an Ohio gubernatorial candidate who evidently was quite an idiot during the COVID time. And now this woman wants to run for the governorship of Ohio. Anybody in Ohio this morning? Let us hear from you. Love to hear what you know about this person. It's a distant memory. A lot of public officials behaved outrageously, and now they pretended that they didn't do it. They don't want to talk about it. They lectured us, demanded compliance with mandates. They would sometimes refuse to comply with the mandates themselves. Remember Gavin Newsom at the French Laundry restaurant, sitting at a table, not socially distanced, no mask on, just enjoying a fine dinner. Remember Nancy Pelosi getting her hair cut? Remember that? She get her at the beauty parlors when the beauty parlors in California were all closed down. Listen, there was a concerted effort to demonize anyone who refused to panic, who refused to shut down their daily lives, who wanted to have some kind of a normalcy. We were told if you were a non-vaxxer, you were part of the problem. You deserve to die. You were called a grandma killer. All these things, remember that? You got yelled at the grocery stores because you didn't care about the damn arrows going this way or that way. You were called irresponsible, selfish, all these names that are out there. And we talked about our freedoms. We were told we were conspiracy theorists. And so we were just dismissed and poo-pooed across America. Well, if you want to know the top health official in Ohio, is Dr. Amy Acton, Acton. She's the former top health official in Ohio, and she's a current Democratic Party gubernatorial candidate, and she exemplifies why we have to let these politicians know that we don't approve of that. Outkick has exclusively obtained a series of social media posts that appeared to be made by Dr. Acton's Twitter account back in May of 2020. And she was primarily engaging with fans of the Cleveland Browns. These posts have now been deleted, but Outkick got a copy of them. And in one example of the post of Dr. Acton, who's running for governor in Ohio, never deserves to set foot in any governor's mansion. I don't care how much I hate your state or love your state, she should not. She responded to a Browns fan that was posting a Kermit the Frog meme about their hopes for the team to make the playoffs by saying, "Please social distance, please follow CDC guidelines." That fan responded with a photo to which she said, "We should be discussing ways to prevent COVID, not football." She hijacked threads of the Cleveland Browns and made it all about the COVID, the booger cootie virus. Why? Because this woman is a lunatic. This woman is either a false doctor, a fake doctor. She should be defrocked of her doctorhood or something. Another post was simply a photo of the Browns punter, the Cleveland Browns punter, lifting a log, I guess, doing some work at the house, doing some work on the farm, whatever the punter was doing. And Dr. Acton, this lunatic gubernatorial candidate from Ohio, decided to post up on that, "Please social distance." One fan responded to that Twitter post that this was the only fun part of quarantine is working outside. And this was apparently too much for Acton, who responded with, "Please stop." Some other fan discussion was interrupted with Acton adding, "We are in a pandemic." This woman is a lunatic. And I want you to look at the people that are running for office this off-year election, this midterm election, whether they're running locally or nationally or statewide or whatever. I want you to look at all of them. And I think they should all be judged by the essence of their stupidity during the booger cootie virus. Is it possible that somebody comes back and says, "I was really wrong, heavy-handed"? I haven't heard of any of them. I've never heard of Gretchen Whitmer, of Jared Polis, of Gavin Newsom apologizing for the stupidity that they spewed upon us during the 2020, during the booger cootie virus scare, or the quote pandemic. They never apologized. They've instead tried to pretend that it never happened. And so I beseech you, therefore, brethren and sistren, to pay very close attention to the stupidity that is out there regarding the booger cootie virus that was out there, and these people should not be left to forget about it. This Dr. Acton in Ohio, good for Outkick for putting out the tweets. This woman should never be allowed to forget the basic stupidity and idiocy that she exemplified during the booger cootie virus. Let me ask you, who in your world was the most stupid? Was it your governor? Even the governor of Texas took some heat because he was also a little bit off his rocker when it came to the booger cootie virus and the COVID. So I throw that out kind of as a precursor, a pre-question of the day, because I want your brains to go here. When I saw this story, I actually got pissed off. I actually got mad that I remember that Jared Polis in our state said churches can't meet. You cannot meet together to worship an almighty and holy God if you want to. Why? Because Jared Polis, the tyrannical governor of the state, said so. Now, you could go to the marijuana stores in Colorado. You could go to the liquor stores. You could do a heck of a lot of stuff, but don't you dare get together for an act of worship, because if you do, that booger cootie virus is going to kill grandma, and it will all be your fault for worshiping Jesus. That's what they tried to do. They pushed to see how far they could do, and if they could get you dependent on the government for advice and not the Bible for advice in life. They want to make you dependent on them. They want to make sure your marching orders about whether you go to a restaurant at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 5 o'clock. They want to be part and central of that decision, and they don't want you seeking wisdom from anywhere else, because in their estimation, they sit on high. So I want to post this story up. I want it to get some traction, and I want you to ask who is running for office in your state, and what should you know about them running for office? So do you remember how they behaved during the booger cootie virus craziness? Do you remember it? And if you don't remember it, please make sure you do remember it. Let them know that this is nonsense, and they will be held accountable, and you will remember exactly what it is that they did and how they behaved during that time. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Jimmy is my name. I know that's not a lead like top news story, Delilah. They're not going to lead with that on the Fox News today, but I do hope that people will remember COVID and where you were at and how they were behaving so many years ago today. All right, Cuba. Anybody want to go to Cuba? I heard some friends this week talking about as soon as they put a Home Depot in Cuba, I'm moving down there. Listen, if they put the Home Depot in, you better have already bought property. I'm just saying, you're waiting too late. You got to get ahead of the curve, not behind the curve. You've got to be action-oriented and not reactionary-oriented. So I would say you might want to start figuring that out now and not wait for that. It's going to be amazing to see what happens with Cuba. The news story out there is that they're basically living in the dark right now. The Cuban collapse is... the Cuban collapse is not good. It's not good for the people right now, but the long term is going to play a very, very, very big time role. Cuban exiles in Miami say this is the end of communism. Nationwide blackouts have left 10 million people without power, and Trump says he expects the honor of taking Cuba in some form. That is the quote. Not exactly sure how this is going to go, but Donald Trump says he's going to have the honor of taking over Cuba in some form. The island has experienced 67 years of authoritarian rule. The Communist Party, the only legal party. People have been killed. They have been maimed. They have been tortured. They have shipped cigars to China rather than to America. I mean, there's lots of problems there in Cuba. The protesters are getting more brave, and they're tired of the darkness, and it looks like it's days, if not a couple of weeks away from falling. And I have to ask you this question. If Cuba opens, I know some of you have been to Cuba. I've been thinking about going for many years on a humanitarian mission. You can, as an American, go there for humanitarian purposes, and as a global humanitarian that builds schools, I think it would be good for me to go to Cuba. I just haven't ever been able to make it happen. So I've thought about it. I want to go, and I might not have to even use a humanitarian excuse here real soon. So here is the great question this is the great question is, do you have a trip to Cuba in your future? And there's another question that I think is, as we move forward, what have you been to Cuba? And what kind of trip would that be? And I'm just hoping that President Trump, if you're listening, the real reason I do this show, that President Trump, if you are listening to this program, when we take Cuba in whatever form we get Cuba, and we get rid of the commies out there, and we ship Mamdani down there to live, I don't know, send him off with the Castro family. I don't know. Whenever we get Cuba, we need some new rules regarding exporting all those Cuban cigars to China. Now, I'm not one of those people that say the Cuban cigars are the best ever, the only. I do like a good Cuban cigar, but then I like a good Nicaraguan cigar. I like a good Honduran cigar, an Ecuadorian cigar. Heck, fire. I even had cigars made in the great US of A, and if it's a good cigar, I like it. But hey, I would like to add to my arsenal. Like a biblical warrior going off to battle, I'd like another arrow in my quiver if I can. And in my little humidor, I would not mind a fine collection of Cubans that I didn't have to smuggle back in my pants when I go overseas and travel. Now, I've never smuggled in my pants, but I use it as an example, Delilah. That would be grotesque if I were smuggling cigars in my pants. But I just want one that I don't have to smuggle back. Not that I ever would, because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I'm just saying, President Trump, if you were listening to this program, please stop the smuggling. Please let us stop smuggling things in our pants. Ladies and gentlemen, I see the flashing story here. Chuck Norris was rushed to the hospital. Some words are saying that Chuck Norris has passed away. I see that circulating in the chat room as well. But I do have the story that I'll give you that detail. Then I want to go to Sherry Cree here. The great actor Chuck Norris was rushed. Here's what I do know, and it looks like it's a developing story on his health. Chuck Norris was hospitalized in Hawaii following a medical emergency. He's said to be in good spirits, 86 years old. He was rushed to the hospital on the Hawaiian island of Kauai during a medical emergency. It happened sometime over the last day or so, but there's no word on what's wrong. As of yesterday, he's said to be in good spirits and cracking joke. He had just turned 86, had actually been training on Wednesday. There's no word if his emergency had anything to do with that. There's actually video of him training, doing some boxing earlier in the week. So we will keep an eye on that developing story about Chuck Norris and what a hero he is, and all the great Chuck Norris jokes that have been out there throughout all the years. It's good stuff. All right. Two stories. We didn't talk about Iran. We got to talk government shutdown. Here's the question of the day. I want to go to Sherry Cree next. Who's to blame? Who is to blame for this government shutdown? I was reading on it because I think all politicians are jackwagons for the most part. I think there's a lot of jackwagonery, stupid stuff that happens in Washington, D.C. But you had this Save America Act, and we'll talk about that as well. But the government shutdown is happening because of DHS. And the Republicans have actually made some concessions. They have decided extra training would be good for ICE. They've decided that body cams would be good, and they're fine with that. They're signing off on all that. The Republicans are conceding along the way things, and yet the Democrats still refuse to open the government. In my estimation, this lands firmly in the camp of Democrats, but I know some polling numbers say that it's all politicians get the blame for this. So my question of the day, as you're at the airport waiting 45 minutes in line, or 4 hours in line for TSA, or 3 hours in line, and you're fighting all the craziness at TSA at the airport, and you know that our country's having a battle in Iran, and our Department of Homeland Security is neutered because it's not being funded. You've got TSA agents that have not been paid in a month. I mean, imagine most people in America cannot survive not being paid for a month, and it's happening. Who's to blame for that? When your friend, your family, your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife is not being paid by the government agency that they are serving because Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are idiots, who's to blame for that? Do you blame fully Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats, or do you think that there's blame for the Republicans? I'd love to hear it, and maybe I'm missing something, but this is firmly and squarely across the jaw of these lame Democrats, because the Republicans have been coming with compromises on ICE, and the Democrats still say, heck no, we won't go, and not going to do that. It's been a month, and most people aren't paying attention to it unless you go to the airport, and fortunately or hopefully we don't end up with a terrorist attack because of the unfunding of the Department of Homeland Security that is happening now. Fortunately, we have some Americans that are going to work every day, and they're not getting paid. And I just think members of Congress also should be doing without their paycheck, but let's not make their paycheck up. Let's just let them go and let it be a gift back to the American people. So there's your question of the day. Who is it that you say is to blame for who was it to say that that you blame for this government shutdown when you were waiting in line at the airport? All right, glad to have you here on the show. Jaime Lagos, Jimmy Lakey is my name. Pleasured and thrilled to have you here on the show. Welcome into the program. I think we had a little technical glitch, but we got it all worked out. Sherry Cree, great sponsor of the show, Realtor Extraordinaire. Sherry, good morning. How are you? I'm glad we got connected.
Good morning, Jimmy. Today is the first day of spring. Happy spring.
Happy springtime. I don't know if there's cards I was supposed to send in the mail or something, but I'll get them out. Say Christmas cards, Thanksgiving card, and happy springtime. Let's talk about springtime real estate. This is the time that some people are going, I got to start thinking about real estate. You've said this for weeks, Sherry. If you're thinking about selling, you're thinking about buying, do not delay. At least start the conversation. It is so important. This should be a day. You've been putting it off. Don't do it anymore. Talk about springtime and what's happening right now, the spring market.
Yes, the sellers have been talking about their strategy with me. They all put a house on the market in early March. And the new sellers who contacted me, I'm helping them to get the house ready for the market as quickly as possible.
Are we still in that seller's market right now? How's supply and demand? Obviously, when more houses go on the market, who's going to benefit right now? And this could change next week or next month. But right now, are we in that buyer or seller's market?
So in a macro perspective, it is still a seller's market in a way. The supply and demand is still, we do not still have enough supply for housing as demand. But in the practical field of, me being a real estate agent, working daily in the real estate transactions, sentiment is that it's a buyer's market because the buyers can negotiate price and buyers can negotiate inspection items. So it's not like, one time after COVID that buyers were bending over backwards to just, for any property. So it is a buyer's market in a practical sense. But it all highly depends on the micro market of the price point area and how the listing is, appealing to the buyer pool.
I do know people that have either had kids and or themselves that still rent in Colorado because they say Colorado is just unaffordable. It's hard to get into the first time buying program. Are you starting to see any change in that? I know other states have affordability issues as well, but getting into the housing market in Colorado is not easy right now. What are your thoughts and where are we in that? First time home buyers, young home buyers, they're like, I'm out. I've either got to live in Lyman, Colorado to qualify for a house, or I got to move out of state.
I do not know that the younger first-time homebuyer generation, they're still feeling the appeal to being in Colorado for the quality of life and outdoors, and that kind of environment appeals to young professionals. So what I see, the people who are moving out of Colorado, they are typically, they have made enough equity on the house. Colorado's getting a very expensive. I'm going to sell it, cash it out, and then use the equity to find a home in a little bit more affordable area. And then I think there's also political climate plays in that scenario too.
Believe me, the political climate here I look at the equity of my house and go, how much could I do here and here and here? And could I end up in Africa half the time? So I believe me, I play with that in my head a lot. Sherry, it's first day of spring, as you said. Anybody who's been thinking of buying or selling, getting into the real estate market, what is your advice for them on this first day of spring 2026, other than hurry up, get with it? What do you tell them? What's the motivator for people to get moving today and give you a call?
Well, the motivator for selling the house or buying the house is highly personal. I'm not the one to manipulate anybody's thoughts, but if your housing situation is not in alignment with your current lifestyle and current lifestyle needs, that's when people think about changing your housing situation. If the home ownership is in your picture, that is really, there are a lot of assistance available, down payment assistance or creative financing to buy before sell if you own the home and you need to sell your home to buy. I would recommend talking to a financing professional, and oftentimes your realtor knows who is very helpful in exploring different options. So start talking about money side of your transition first. That's my advice.
Sherry Cree, your website is homeswithsherry.com. Sherry, limited time. I know we had technical difficulty. We'll make it up next week, but I appreciate you hopping in here. Homeswithsherry.com. If you're in that I-25 corridor in Colorado, I know a lot of you are out of state, and that's fine as well. Thousands of earballs hear this show, but wherever you're at, if you need a realtor, Sherry can refer one. She's got a free referral service. But if you're in that Interstate 25 area in Colorado, that corridor, let's say from the southern part of Denver to up to the Fort Collins, I know she was out in Eaton Way. Way, the Greeley area, helping some folks get in a home. If you're in Parker, if you're in Aurora, she can make sure you don't live next to Trendale, Rockwell. She can help you with that. Highlands Ranch, Arvada, Littleton, Lakewood, homeswithsherry.com. If you're in Longmont, Boulder, Broomfield, you get the idea. All across that Interstate 25 corridor, homeswithsherry.com. And I would just say, do not, I think it was a Bambi movie or some movie. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. Getting involved and having the conversation earlier with Sherry can make sure you have the right strategy. She knows that you can use real estate as a way to create generational wealth for your family if you would do it the right way. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, my friends, let's welcome in Brother Andy. Brother Andy Ross. You say, I know that name. I know that name. Of course you know that name. He's a patriotic country artist, CEO, and has a beer company. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and we bring him back into the program. Andy Ross, welcome back, sir. How are you?
Hey, happy to be back.
Glad to have you, sir. First of all, as soon as I mentioned your name, producer Chad said, he's the beer guy. Talk. That's now your reputation, the beer guy. For those who don't know, you started a beer company, and it's going well, it looks like.
Yeah, it's doing great. Our company's called American Rebel. We've been around for 10 years with our concealed carry backpacks, coach jackets. We moved into gun safes, but about a year and a half ago, we launched America's patriotic, God-fearing, Constitution-loving, national anthem singing, stand your ground beer. And we've expanded that now into 18 states.
Now, I was not aware of this until this week when I was chatting with your people and my people, and I didn't realize that American Rebel is actually traded. It's a public company. It's on the NASDAQ. I mean, it's quite a success, and people can actually invest in America if they want to by investing in you.
Yeah, we've been on NASDAQ since February of 22.
Wow. Very good. Andy, we're in America's 250th birthday party is about to kick off. It's kicked off, of course, July. Everything from UFC fights at the White House to fireworks displays, parade. I have a feeling. I'm glad President Trump is going to oversee the celebration 250. Sometimes I look at the other political party that I'm not a part of and say, do you guys have any American pride? Does that red, white, and blue ever make you tingly? It's going to be a big party. Would you say, let's put the political red team, blue team aside, is this a great time in America for us to be proud of who we are again? Because I see some people almost wanting to make apologies for who we are and what we do and how great our military is. Talk about American pride, and is it back?
Well, I'm also thankful that our president is putting the celebration around the 250. It's not only a time of pride, but it's also a time to reflect. I mean, we built farms out of forest. We put railroads across this country. We've survived wars. There's all kinds of challenges. This country is full of opportunity, but it's also creates difficulty. We've stood up. We've proven that a country can be founded, that it can be governed by its citizens and its own people. And I hope that it's not only a time to celebrate, but also that it's a time to reflect. I hope different generations will have conversations about what they went through, what the country was like when they were young, growing up, jobs they had. People remember the veterans, the people that had loss of life in order, for us to have our freedoms and what we have here today. And I hope it's just celebrated all over the country. I know I'm looking forward to playing quite a few of these 250th celebration events, including one in Gettysburg on July 3rd. So I just really hope, and I think the country will surprise us, and they'll get out there and celebrate, and maybe we'll even see some people tear up.
I was amazed, not amazed because I knew all the kids, but when my son, he graduated high school just before the election last 2 years ago. And you'd go to school events, you'd see these kids, and the numbers and demographics of first-time voters showed it, that the young people seem to have a lot of pride. I saw kids driving their school cars with flags hanging out the back, kids showing up at school with Trump hats. What is it that you think has now sparked in this younger demographic that has caused them to maybe have a sense of national pride and flag-waving patriotism that maybe their parents and grandparents have lost, but for some reason it sparked recently among the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, even my son's college campus just see it. even though the professors may be backcrap crazy at these universities, the kids seem to have picked up a little dose of the patriotism.
Yeah, and that's great to see that our youth is, taking a stronger interest in politics and standing up for our country and our freedoms and our rights. When things were going on, if you just go back 3, 4, 5, 6, even before before COVID, during COVID, it seemed like there was a lot of the opposite of that happening, and I think that they took it so far that the youth of America just said, you know what, we've got to stand up and we've got to show out. And maybe even though on college campuses and stuff it was frowned upon, I think when enough of the like-minded people got together and became, not just one or two people speaking out, I think they rallied around it, and it's great to see.
If you're listening later in the show, where thousands of earballs later in the day will hear and or see this show, either in repeat on the video or the podcasts on the all the podcast streams you have, Apple Podcast, Spotify. You're listening to the voice of Andy Ross. He's an accomplished singer, songwriter, longtime television personality. His show Maximum Archery ran for more than a decade on the Outdoor Channel, the Sportsman Channel, Pursuit Network, showcasing his hunting, his self-defense, and American outdoor traditions. He's also the creator of American Rebel Light Beer. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Right before you came on, I had one of our sponsors, a realtor, talking about the unaffordability and how the younger crowd may be patriotic, but they feel like they've been kind of squeezed out of some of the maybe American dream home purchases in Colorado. It's too not affordable. You're a guy that believes in entrepreneurialism. I can't say that without another cup of coffee. You believe in the entrepreneur, and you know that that is one of the ways and benefits we have in America, that even though the man or the corporation might keep us down, we have the innate ability and access to build something of our own. Talk about entrepreneurship in America and maybe inspire some youngster out there that says, I'm never going to get ahead in corporate America. I'm not going to be able to buy a house with corporate job, but hey, take it into your own hands and to make something of yourself.
Yeah. One of the many things this country offers better than any other, place on this rock is opportunity. And the country is full of opportunity. And as I said earlier, it's opportunity mixed with difficulty, though, right? You may not be successful your first couple of times out. It's going to be harder than you think. It is totally opportunity mixed with difficulty, but you do have the ability to take that opportunity. You have the ability to start a business, small business. Think of all the businesses in this country that were started in garages that have now become multi-million-dollar companies. You have the opportunity of owning your own business. That you could work with family. You could have a family-owned business. But you're going to have the struggles and challenges. But you live in a country where you are free to do that. So if it's in your DNA to want to do it, you should take advantage of the gifts that are handed to us here. It's always, it always looks easier than it is. And when you see somebody, they're like, wow, he just kind of became an overnight success. I mean, we're having some great success in 18 states now with our beer and the brand American Rebel. But, we've been at this almost 11 years now, and it's been hard. We've had a lot of challenges. So, but that's what makes it fun, right? The struggle, yeah. That's what makes it worth it. You have the right to start a podcast, and I'm sure there's challenges, in the podcast business that most people wouldn't understand, but you buckle down and you get through it.
Yeah. I always like to kind of get to the motivator. What was it that one day woke Andy Ross up? You're playing the guitar, just playing a little bit of music, and suddenly you became an entrepreneur and you're creating something besides just a song on a song sheet or a lyric on an album. What was that day that Andy Ross realized there's more to this life than just a microphone and a guitar? It can be better. I can have more impact. I can start a beer company. I can start a product company. What was that awakening moment for you?
Well, when I had, I had the TV show Maximum Archery, I did a bunch of hunting songs on the show just to enhance the show. I wrote Gotta Go Hunting Blues, Hunt Me Down, Buck of a Lifetime, Blood Trail on a Whitetail, Support Your Local Wildlife. Napster came around, file sharing, iTunes, and all of a sudden I had a little music career going, and then had the opportunity to come to Nashville. Off my Time to Fight record in 2015, I had a song called American Rebel that went viral as a patriotic anthem, landed me on Counting Cars. where Danny built me the Second Amendment muscle car. And, my producer and a friend of mine, entrepreneur, Corey Lambrick, who had been successful bringing Smith & Wesson back to the U.S. as a company and turned that thing around and really got it growing. We were just all talking, and, music was, when music sold hard goods, there was money in it. When we sold records, even when we sold CDs, even in the early days of iTunes. But when streaming came out, even though now there's a multitude of more people listening to my music, the revenue got smaller. And so when that song came out, it was just like, we need to build a brand around this. We need to build a, kind of the light bulb went off. And Corey Lambert said, this brand could be bigger than Smith & Wesson. It's America's patriotic brand, American Rebel. We always said, I want to see American Rebel beer. I want to see American Rebel grills. I want to see American Rebel tools, motor oil. I want Susie to go to Mom and say, Mom, what's Dad want for Father's Day? And she said, honey, anything with American Rebel on it. So, one day the song just resonated as a brand to us, and we wanted to bring products to market.
Andy Ross is my guest. I will give you his website here in just a moment about the beer, the products, everything. Andy, 250 years for America. Well, I'm sure we'll talk now and in between the birthday celebration on the July the 4th. But it's easy for all of us to turn on the news, watch politics, watch the evening news, watch the battles that happen, partial government shutdowns, protests in the streets. And it's easy for us to get a little bit, we lost Andy. Andy's back. We lost you there. You disappeared. No worries. I was saying that it's easy for us to watch the news, watch the evening news, and get kind of depressed and go, what the heck is happening? And is America's best days behind us? I think you have a message that says, hey, you don't have to look at the news. America is still a great country. Why don't you pick up on that theme, sir? It's easy to get depressed about our country when you look at who's in the hallowed halls of Congress and what you hear in the news, but you say ignore all that.
You got to get your fill of entertainment from a variety of places. Turn on a church service once in a while, watch a little sports once in a while, listen to a little music once in a while, do some reading once in a while, just to go down of what the major news networks want to feed us. Don't forget that they're also entertainment, those news channels, and they want to put things on there that keep your attention, that keep you watching, that affect you in some manner. So there's a lot of that going on just for the effect of entertaining the customer that's watching, and it's not necessarily what most of the country is reflecting. So get a little bit of news, get a little bit of church service, get a little bit of comedy, get a little bit of rock and roll. But sometimes you just got to say no to going too far down some of those rabbit holes.
Andy Ross, my guest, founder and CEO of American Rebel, by the way, trades under the NASDAQ AREB as an American Reb, AREB, if you're interested in looking at that on NASDAQ. Creator of American Rebel Light Beer. You see on the screen, AmericanRebelBeer.com. Folks need to get a case, a couple of cans at least.
Put a can in your hand. We have a beer at AmericanRebelBeer.com. There is a beer locator of the states we're in and a lot of the places that it's distributed to in those states. There's also some information of an online service that can ship into 40 states. So it's easy to find. And if we're not in your area yet, we're coming soon. AmericanRebelBeer.com, AmericanRebelBeer.com. Andy Ross, appreciate you hopping in here today and reminding us all that this is the greatest nation that God ever put on the planet, and you and I get to live on it. I know it gets frustrating looking at Washington, D.C. and some of the jackwagons and idiots that run states and are elected officials, but hang in there, my friends. It's still the greatest nation on God's green earth. Andy Ross, thank you very much. American Rebel is the product. Go check it out. And the light beer, find the beer locator on the website, and you will be very happy with yourself. All right, it's a Friday edition of the show, the 20th day of March, and good to have you here on the program. That's my name is Jimmy, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and now unleashed to be unashamed, unfettered,
and unafraid on my own little streamcast, podcast, and broadcast that you're watching here. By the way, if you're watching this later in the day, as I said, thousands of earballs. We got the numbers and we got the receipts to prove it. Thousands of earballs hear every and/or watch every show every day, and we do appreciate all of you doing. So if you're listening later in the afternoon, hello from the past. We hope you're doing well in the future, and God bless you. And please like and share. If you're not, even if you don't listen to the podcast, which is audio only, it always helps us. Any feed you're watching, whether it's the audio, the podcast, the streamcast, get it a like, get it a share, and that helps spread the word about the Lakey Unleashed streamcast, podcast, and broadcast. We always appreciate your help. And the way you kick the Silicon Valley idiots in the huevos, as they may say, the way you punch them in the gut, the way you bypass their stupid algorithms is the content that you like. You need to engage with it. So a little thumbs up never hurt. A little share always helps. And you know what that will also do? That will also put us in your algorithm and your newsfeed. Talked to a friend this past week who said, I like to watch your show, but I sometimes forget about it because it used to pop up in my algorithm, my feed, and now it doesn't. So I never remember that you're on live. And that's because I guarantee you that person was not engaging with the show. They might have been watching it, but you got to hit the like buttons, hit the smiley face, hit the emoji, hit the thumbs up, make comments, share it on occasion. And that is how you train those nasty demonic algorithms from Silicon Valley to give you the content that you want. Go through your Facebook friends list sometime. Look at all the friends that you have, and you've never seen them in your algorithm. You never see them in your newsfeed. I didn't know I was friends with that. Wonder what they're doing. 10 years, 5 years, 6 years. I haven't seen them. That's because you're not engaged with them. So there's my little advice for the day, selfishly. But anytime you like a product or a personality, make sure you engage with it. Don't just read it and go, oh, that's merry and happy. No, you got to engage with that puppy. And when you do so, it's going to increase the likelihood that you're going to, it's going to help them. It's going to help you. I promise you it shall. All right. I do have a story I got to get to, but I got to go to Dr. Gilda Carl first about a deaf woman that got kicked off a plane. You know why she got kicked off the plane? She wasn't listening. I've a true story. I've teased this story. I'm going to get to it in a moment. But if you would, please welcome. You've seen her on television many times, Dr. Gilda Carl, back in the green room. Dr. Gilda, welcome back.
Nice to see you again. Good to see you for sure. How are you?
I'm very well. It is the first day of spring, and I don't know if I'm supposed to send greeting cards for spring, but happy spring to you.
Well, thanks very much. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the weather here has gotten to 103 yesterday.
Oh,
if you
man.
call that spring, I don't know what spring is.
So, yeah, for you, spring is like December. And
Yes,
for me, I mean, I'm in Colorado, and although we've had a very mild winter, and I'm glad for that. But yeah, we're going to hit the 90s this weekend, which is not like spring weather here. Spring should be 60s or 70s here, but we're getting some warm weather as well. Well, not as hot as you in Scottsdale, Arizona. So happy spring, Dr. Gilda. Happy spring.
Thank you. Same to you.
I got a story that is kind of depressing, but I want to get your take on it. By the way, if you're listening to the show, Dr. Gilda is the author of a book called Real Men Don't Go Woke. She has approved on a lot of talk shows. Dr. Gilda's TV show pilot, MTV's Love Doc, and TV shows on Trinity Broadcasting. She wrote the 30-Second Therapist column on the Today Show, Ask Dr. Gilda, column of the National Enquirer. It's Dr. Gilda. Dr. Gilda, there's a story that just baffles me, that we have ladies, women in Iran and around the globe that have been beat, suppressed, can't go out of their house without permission, can't drive a car, can't have a career, must always stay covered up, even in the desert heat. And it's the dehumanizing of these women. And for some reason, feminists in America don't seem to be outraged by that. They're protesting Trump. They protest the Israelis. They protest all sorts of things. But where are the women standing up for the women that are being abused literally around the globe?
Thank you for asking that question. I ask that question all the time. Where do these women get off saying, we want to fight imperialism, yet they are imperialistic themselves in the way they go about doing whatever they're doing? Very interesting. But their plight now is to get rid of imperialism in Iran without supporting the theocracy. That's like asking for an ice cream sundae without the ice cream. What, are you kidding? These women don't know what they're even talking about. It's all religious orientation where they hang people and not care about other women. And I don't understand why the feminists here in America are not saying more about, for example, our beautiful soccer players who were in Iranian soccer players who were in Australia, and some of them wanted to defect, and some of them thought very seriously about defecting. 25 of them were playing in the soccer match, and many of them said they wanted to defect, and then they heard what was happening to their families back home. One family disappeared. The girl said, I have to go home to my family. And they've been threatened because they did not sing the national anthem for Iran when they stood up. And Iran said, well, we're going to kill you. That's treason to them. And we're going to kill them. So where are the feminists in the United States speaking out against that?
Yeah. You saw what Iran did the last 48 hours to a wrestler, a young man, 19. Yeah. They hung him, and men actually have value and standing in that culture. If they would do that to the wrestler, what are they going to do to these women?
That's it, exactly. And yet the American feminists think that they can intrude into this uncivilized world, and they're going to make inroads. Oh, give it up. Start taking care of women back home. Start taking care of your men back home. Start taking care of the people who you're supposed to be caring about.
I know not everybody is political. Not everybody defines himself by red team or blue team. But it does seem that there's some people that I watch their posts. Some of them are friends and family. I see them put stuff on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. I hear them, and they seem to, and you can speak to this as a doctor here, but help me out. They really outrage about the orange man or the Donald Trump guy than they ever have towards women who are actually being oppressed. You know, like the political candidate, they are obsessed with him, but they really ignore some of the injustices out there. And that's just disturbing. To me, that just shows something's off in their head.
Well, yeah, what we have seen in terms of statistics is that these young feminists who know nothing about anything. I mean, they're all Greta Thunbergs as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, they know nothing, and yet they are pontificating about what another country ought to do all the time. And they have no idea what they're even talking about. And if Orange Man says up, they will automatically say down. Yeah. Just to be, I mean, this is adolescent behavior. This is reactive adolescence at its finest. This is what mommy says, you can't go out. Oh, yes, I'm going to go out. In fact, if I can't get it from mommy, I'm going to ask daddy, I want to go out. Oh, no, you can't go out. Listen to your mother. Well, I'm going to do whatever I please. As though they are in a world on their own without any kind of influence from anybody else. These women, this is laughable. The women don't know what they're talking about. Here they're trying to separate the theocracy from the regime in Iran without even caring about the people who are losing their lives. Give me a break. This is disgusting. It's disgusting behavior. And what we're finding statistically, as I was starting to say, was that the mental health of these young feminists is very, very low. There's more mental health issues for young feminists than there are for any other sector in our world.
Wow. Let me change stories here, but I found this story a couple of years ago. We were yanking down statues because we didn't like Civil War heroes. We were yanking the statues. And then you had the Me Too movement. No matter what you said about a man, you had to be believed. Always believe the woman. She's never lying. It's interesting that in Los Angeles, have the chickens come home to roost? Because I just find there's so much irony in this. Places like Los Angeles went bent over backwards to name streets, parks, avenues after a guy named Cesar Chavez, who was a champion of the labor movement. Cesar Chavez, everything I've read, was not a nice guy. He did not like gays, homosexuals. I mean, he would assume he'd be dead than gay. and yet they still blasted him up there because he led the labor movement. Now LA is removing his name from streets, parks, and thoroughfares because some allegation has come out decades later that he had sexually been inappropriate with somebody, and she kept it quiet all these years, but now he's dead. She's stating her case. Give me your thoughts on this. The yanking down of a sign years and years ago, when if you're going to question the character of Cesar Chavez, you could have done that years and years ago.
So true. He died in 1993. So here they are replaying all of the nonsense that went on years ago when, we have in our own world plenty of sexual perverts who should have been accused, should have been indicted, should have gone to jail, and they weren't. However, now we're in the age of Epstein. Now suddenly everybody's holier than thou. And we are seeing a lot of people at the very tops of organizations, men, who have been accused of and have actually left their positions because of allegations about their sexual harassment. And if they had not been truthful, well, suddenly they are truthful and suddenly they're leaving their positions. Why would they leave a position if they were not guilty? So we're seeing that. And now, I don't know, the public outcry for Cesar Chavez is great because of Epstein, I do believe. And they're not putting up with this anymore. They think, at least it's the show.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Epstein's people were all around for years and years during the Biden administration. How come nothing was done about releasing those files until Donald came in? Donald came in, and now suddenly, okay, now we have to do something about these evil men because the outcry is so tremendous. Look, I wrote this book, Real Men Don't Go Woke, because of the push of the feminists telling our men, men are no good. Men cannot, they cannot open their mouths. They're just a bunch of toxic messes, and women are going to put them down. And because of that, we have seen such an increase in male suicide and now boy suicide. We've got to stop this. Women have got to be much gentler and much safer in the way they are addressing our men. It is not fair. Men are getting a rough shake over this. You look at what happens when they are divorced and they lose their children. Family court is corrupt and they lose their children for the man who was. And this is what I do as a spokesperson for the International Council for Men and Boys. We advocate for these men who are losing their children thanks to a stupid judge who knows nothing about these men and their level of parenting. It's horrendous, and men are just trying to shut up and not speak. But the internalization of all their angst is what is killing them and driving them to suicide. And many men who have read my book have said that because of this book, they chose not to commit suicide. And mothers are thanking me, fathers are thanking. It's really amazing what has happened because men have not had a voice, thanks to these crazy feminists.
Yeah, the name of the book is called Real Men Don't Go Woke. If folks want to don't go woke, if somebody wants a copy of the book, they want to follow you online, how do they do that, Dr. Gilda?
Oh, that's very simple. You go to Amazon to get the book. I mean, the books are flying. I mean, they're just flying off the shelves. And I'm so grateful for that because it's making a real big dent in men's consciousness today. Yeah. Thank you, God. I'm the only woman who's out there talking about it.
You're always welcome on the show. I think your take on Cesar Chavez is fascinating. I had not thought of that all of a sudden you have decades and decades that you could have lashed out about Cesar Chavez, but about the time the spotlight starts hitting all of these politicians and Epstein, they go, oh, look how sanctimonious we are. He was a bad guy. It's almost like, look, squirrel, shiny object. It could all just be a diversionary tactic there in Los Angeles.
You know what? Los Angeles is in a box of its own because the rest of the United States do not know that this is a holiday of any kind, the Cesar Chavez Day. Now they're going to change it to workers working farm workers day or something like that. But a rose by any other name is still a rose, and this is not a rose. This is a wilted rose. So
you can put a lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Still a pig. That's
still
right.
a pig. Dr. Gilda, the name of your book is called Real Men Don't Go Walk. Your Twitter handle was just there, Dr. Gilda, but Real Men Don't Go Woke. And you're still, you were always, they had the MTV, the National Enquirer, the Today Show. You've done a little bit of all of it. And is there daily work and product that you're putting out there, blogs, videos, and people can follow that?
Yes. It's on my website, drgilda.com. It's real easy to get in touch with me. I have quotes from men all over the world who have read this book and that has changed their lives. And I'm so grateful to God that I am delivering this message to men when they don't have any kind of message like this out there, especially through a woman's eyes. We have some male researchers who I quote in the book. They're brilliant. But as far as a woman is concerned, this is how it affects women. We want I and the women who I represent want our men to do well. We love our men and we support our men, and we are not looking to castigate and castrate them. So this is where this is coming from. So may men continue, open your mouth, speak your minds, and forget about the nasty women out there who are called feminists. Understand there are two kinds of women. There are the feminists, the woke white women, and then there are the real women who can love you. And that's the message I have to give to all of you.
Real Men Don't Go Walking. Very quickly, you're a spokesperson for the International Council for Men and Boys. I'll let you highlight their work as well. They have a great website. Always great to talk about the International Council for Men and Boys.
menandboys.net. We are the advocates for men, especially men who are going through all of these put downs and all of these releases from parenthood. They think family court is corrupt. Family court needs to figure out how men operate, and they are not wanting to walk away. I had one man at a press conference I ran in DC for legislators about this very issue. One man was begging me, please get the legislators to change the law. I used to tuck my child into bed every single night, and then I got divorced. And now suddenly I only see my child once every other weekend. This is tragic. And when we see the statistics that show that men are at a loss after they lose a father figure in the home, that's when they most get into trouble. Please let us be united against all of these atrocities.
menandboys.net. And again, the name of her book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. Dr. Gilda, always a pleasure to have you on the show. There it is, the book. And Dr. Gilda, happy spring. Enjoy the heat in Scottsdale. Stay in the air conditioning.
Yeah, thank you.
Got it. Dr. Gilda, Real Men Don't Go Walking. Again, look at menandboys.net. I want to make sure I say the name right. The International Council for Men and Boys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the first day of springtime, and it's a pleasure to have you tuned into the Lakey Unleashed Streamcast, podcast, and broadcast, unfiltered, unafraid, and unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we are together. I want to remind you again that you can share and like this. Hey, let's talk about our charity work here real quick before we wrap up. I know some of you maybe get paid on a Friday. Let me give a plug here. Riverspromise.org. Riverspromise.org is their website. I sent out an email yesterday. If you're on our email list for Rivers Promise, you got it. If you didn't get it, check your spam box or start opening your dang emails and you'll read it. It's just a simple little blurb that I mentioned on the show about how kids don't miss our school. We have very rare absences. When we have absences, we actually send a worker out to wherever the kid lives to find out if everything is okay. And the reason kids come to our school at Legacy Christian Academy in Rwanda is because if you ever go to Rwanda with me and you see how these kids live, you realize home is not a place you're going to sit around and play video games all day. Oftentimes, home is barely four walls and a shelter and a roof over your head. Often, it's just not. It's not great. They go to school. They get to put on a clean set of clothes, wear a uniform. They're going to get 2 solid meals. They're going to have teachers that love them. They're going to have teachers that want the best for them. They're going to just all the things that we offer at Legacy Christian Academy for these kids. So these kids want to come to our school. Remember when you and I were kids, Mom, my tummy hurts. I can't go, because you want to lay on the couch all day and watch Bob Barker or television in the 80s and 90s and have a sick day. These kids don't want sick days because they want to go to our school, because our school, Legacy Christian Academy, is one of the only places they have in their life to where they know that they can kind of ignore, in a sense, the poverty that they live in. We're talking extreme poverty. The reason I started Rivers Promise and Legacy Christian Academy is because education is a ladder those kids will be able to use to one day climb from that pit of extreme poverty. But when they come to our school, man, they feel like they're the top of the world. They're amazed that we have flushing toilets. Amazed, they really are. They're amazed that they can flip a switch on a wall and lights come on. They don't have that at home. So when they come to our school, they're escaping the reality of what their life is, and it's giving them that moment, not just the moment to dream a little bit bigger. When you're surrounded with squalor and poverty, you're never going to dream about becoming something besides a person that lives in squalor and poverty. But when you can get around something bigger and better than you and say, wow, there is life outside of my little shanty that I live in with my mom or my dad or my grandma, or I'm an orphan and as a street kid, and I live, they come to our school. And I want you to remember that today, if you go make a donation, you're not just, turning the lights on, sending the kid to school. You're not just feeding a kid and providing that kid the education, but what you're doing is actually giving that kid a respite from the poverty and the hell that they oftentimes live in. And it's giving them the hope and a reminder that they can get out of that poverty. That's really what we're inspiring, hope, and yet also giving the tools. So today, would you read that email? I wrote it out, sent it out yesterday, and if you're on the email list, you got it. But would you consider a Friday donation? I could go through the dollar amounts, but you know what amount you could do. Maybe you can do $5, maybe do $10. There's some of you right now that could help us overcome our March shortfall. And you could do a number with a couple of zeros on it, maybe 3 zeros, maybe 100, maybe 500, maybe $1,000. And again, what you're doing is, you're donating to charity. Yes, you're donating to Rivers Promise, but I want you to think of that little kid or those little children that every day, that email had some photos of these kids. Those are the kids at our school, some of the kids at our school, and you'll see their smiles. And when they go home, it's not that the happiness is not always what you see in that picture, and you're helping them have hope for a brighter tomorrow. So I'll leave it at that. riverspromise.org. If you could go, if you've never donated to the charity before, we'd love to hear from you today. Any amount works. If you the quicker the better. If you like to mail, there's an address on there as well. But you can just use your credit card and make a donation today, as generous as possible. I'll leave that between you and the good Lord. And again, don't despise a small amount. If that's what you can do, we appreciate that as well. But just think that when you're giving away that $20 or that $200 or that $2,000 or whatever it is you're doing, you're doing more than you can imagine. It's not just putting food in a belly. It's putting dreams in a head and the dreams in a heart. And you're helping a kid escape, even just for a few hours a day, a life that back on the streets of Rwanda can be hell and poverty-laced and hungry. And go with me. I'll show it to you. But in the meantime, you got to take my word for it. Riverspromise.org is right there on your screen. Riverspromise.org. Riverspromise.org. And I hope you'll check out the website and make that donation today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got so many things on the show sheet. I was back-to-back to guests that I didn't get to, so that gives us something to continue on to Monday morning. Everybody continue to pray for your country. Pray that our troops stay safe as they battle this 47-year-old demon that has been terrorizing America for 47 years, called the Iranian Nazi death cult over there. And so pray for our troops, pray for our country, pray for our president. And Monday morning, we will reconvene here and give you all the update of everything you missed on the news. As Andy Ross said, hey, don't just sit around in front of the news all day. Get out and breathe some fresh air. Turn on a sports thing of March Madness, or do something. and we'll come back and I'll update you on anything you missed over the weekend. We'll do that Monday morning. Until then, yes, it's time for the Stolen Memes section of the show, where we steal memes from around the globe and we illustrate the absurdity and laugh comically at what's happening out there. So ready? Ladies and gentlemen, my cheap prop is here on this cheap show. Let's do it. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. To all the folks who are waving Mexican flags over American ones, it's time to back you up your pride. If your love for Mexico is so strong, why not pack your bags and head south? That cartel's not going to fight itself. Show us what you're really made of. Go, run along. Boom, back to Mexico. Go fight the cartels, brave soldier. Dumbass. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. In 2022, Hochul told wealthy Trump voters to get the hell out and move to Florida. Did you hear this yesterday? She's out there saying our tax base has been depleted, and she's begging the billionaires and millionaires to come back so they can pay their fair share of taxes. Kathy Hochul. Whew. What a piece of work she is, isn't she? I don't know who's scarier to, I don't say look at, but look at. I'm not judging looks. I'm just saying, you just get a feel. Don't look him in the eye. You ever had that feeling? I had a producer when I was at iHeart, had a couple of jackass crazy producers. One of them was a lady producer, and my program director said, go to the studio. We're going to make a change here for you, but don't look her in the eye. She's evil. I was told that. They still hired her, didn't they? I didn't hire her. Yeah. Kathy Hochul or Gretchen Whitmer. Whew. Or Jenna Griswold in Colorado. Don't look him in the eye. Something's off. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. This is doctor smiling and laughing. Ask your doctor if a drug with 32 pages of side effects is right for you. Should be a disclaimer. By the way, do you know one of the most simple things that RFK and people in the vaccine movement that have questioned vaccines have said? That with the vaccine inserts should be made public, like you shouldn't have to ask for it. It's just, here it is. They don't do that. If you ever read some of those vaccine inserts, you wouldn't think that RFK Jr. was at, it's right there on the paper, the insert inside the vaccine box, but you don't see it. They just bring the needle in. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. I love this little photo. It does so many great memes. So you're saying the Democrats thought the president of the United States was a Russian agent who later became a Nazi but is still working for Israel. And they expect people to not believe that you're not retarded. Yeah. Isn't that true? Just think of all the juxtapositioning they've done over Donald Trump. He's a Russian agent. Oh, no, he's a Nazi. Oh, look, he's a Nazi Russian agent that works for Israel. They'll say anything. They have derangements. It's a mental illness, my friends. It is literally a sickness in their head. I'm not sure there's a cure, but maybe Jesus. That maybe help him. I don't know. He would help him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not questioning that, but you get the idea. The Babylon Bee. California celebrates the installation of a single LA trash can that cost $40 billion and took 18 years to build. You want to follow this thing, that butterfly bridge in California? They can't get that. There's supposed to be a bullet train from LAX getting ready for next year's Olympics, and that's not going to be ready. All these projects that Gavin Newsom can't get across the finish line. You know why? They don't want them across the finish line. All they want to do is continue to fund these contractors, these unions, keep giving people jobs. If they solve the problem, if they finish the construction project, all of the gravy train jobs for the construction project are over. That's what's happening in California. Gavin Newsom, loser. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. That's not producer Chad holding up the bottle. I promise you that's not him. I know what he looks like. That's not him. It says, if you eat well, get 8 hours of sleep, work out often, drink plenty of water, you're going to die one day anyway. So open that bottle of bourbon up. Let's think about that. Probably good advice. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is the long word from the Great Wall of China, where China says stop stealing the intellectual property and let us do that and don't do better than the Chinese don't want competition when it comes to stealing intellectual property. Dang communist. All right, it's been a pleasure. Monday will be here soon enough. And if you start jonesing for a little bit of the Lakey love this weekend, just go to the podcast version, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Apple Podcasts. Download it and just look up Lakey Unleashed, and we would love to have you participate by listening to the program, like it, and share it, and we appreciate that for it. Yeah, we really do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Would you go make a donation to the charity work we do, riverspromise.org? Let that be something that, yeah, just go do it. Make a donation. You'll sponsor a child and go to the sponsorship tab, look at all the beautiful faces there, and you can not just give a general donation, you can actually sponsor a child month after month. That kid will send you letters, and you'll like it. All right, riverspromise.org. I'll look for those donations today, and I'm grateful for all of you who do participate with us. All right, it's time for us to wrap it up, my friends. Everybody enjoy your weekend. I hope you enjoy it. Just push the buttons in the studio again. In the meantime, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Riverspromise.org is the charity website. If you want to contact us at the show, info@jimmylakey.com. May God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.